coyotes to worry about?
We do have a fox in these.
I know, I've been watching it. I've been very worried about that.
He's a little
Is it-
mangy.
is it- Oh, man, yeah, we had a really mangy one come through our yard.
Yeah.
They're horrible.
He's been hanging out in some backyards.
So Tim was very paranoid about predators getting to them. And he's a metal worker. So when we built the run, he sunk big steel plates like a foot down below grade, so nothing can dig under. It's a little overkill, but
So well thought out plan.
yeah. I'm not bringing them in the house again. They lived in the house for 8 weeks when they were too young to go outside, and my house was filthy.
Little chickies.
Yeah, they lived in the kitchen in like a big puppy pen. I was really regretting my decision. Oh my God, the eggs are so tiny. They're still, what's the word I'm looking for? Juveniles,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright.
What do you think? We get going?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order of the Syracuse Housing Strategies Corporation Finance and Governance Committee. I'll note that Council President Hudson, Councilor Hogan, Caitlin Wright, and Karen Schroeder are here. We expect at least Councilor Jones Rouser to join us. So we will note that the proof of notice was provided. It's the second page of the board's packet. We do not have any new business to cover, as far as I know, but we do have some other business. I'll turn it over to Michelle.
All right, thanks, Graham. So just kind of wanted to start off giving everybody a little bit of an update as to where we stand with the block challenge program as of today. So good news is we're continuing to keep on bringing in the applications, even since 2 weeks ago when we last met. So as of today, we are up to 108 individual properties that we've had applications for across 23 teams. There's kind of a breakout in the single sheet that you all have in front of you, showing kind of distribution of total estimated project costs, what we estimate reimbursements will be as of today, and then what kind of our leverage return on investment for every dollar that the Housing Strategies Corporation is putting in, what are we generating back in terms of homeowner investment. So I think the main kind of takeaway here, obviously there is a little bit of a difference in terms of total volume that we've received between Tip Hill area and Salt Springs. I think at this point, what we're seeing is that not yet at a point where I think we necessarily need to put a firm cap one way or the other on a given neighborhood. I think what we're seeing is that Tip Hill is, so the applications are coming in slightly less complete, whereas Salt Springs is being very diligent about following directions kind of exactly as is. So I think if anything, we've been really encouraging people along the line, kind of like, don't wait to get all 3 of your quotes before sending your application in, send it in. We'll work with you on timelines there. It's easier just for us to be able to kind of review what we're working with in terms of volume. So continuing to kind of do that, but I think numbers continue to be promising and encouraging. As of today, we have a total of $53,000 in reimbursements for individual applicants who have been fully approved, received their notices to proceed with their projects. And actually this morning, we just received our very first request for reimbursement. So we're moving along. I think the main kind of topic of discussion for these at this point is understanding kind of continuous volume that we're getting. I think number one, there is a need probably to minimally raise the amount that we have authorized for the program at least one more time, just based on kind of how we've been communicating to applicants around timelines, rolling timelines, and understanding timeline of when we started in August. Want to make sure that we're giving people substantial time to be getting applications in all the way through the winter, even into next spring. I think because of the extended timelines we gave people for completions, in some ways we're not necessarily going to be able to fully evaluate data super well until further into the spring. Certainly we'll have the projects that get done early this fall to be able to kind of reference, but I think at minimum it makes sense that we would raise this one more time. I think the original number estimates that we were using when we were kind of setting recommendations were based off of some numbers that CCB had provided us that had contemplated approximately 70,000 a year that was going towards block challenge projects. I think the key thing to remember with the 70,000 was that it was predicated on a lower dollar amount per participant. So it was $1,000 maximum reimbursement for a team of 5, of at least 5 people. And then if you had up to 9 people, then that was when you could get the $2,500. So I think what we're seeing, because we had put in a higher dollar amount, we're seeing more people that are doing projects with a 50-50 match, $5,000 a lot of room to work with in terms of what you can get done. So I think a lot of people are doing projects that I would put in the category of something that would otherwise be eligible for what we had kind of initially conceived as like a tier 1 kind of homeowner renovation project. So we're seeing a lot of roofs and a lot of driveways plus painting and things like that. So I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. And I think if you think about it in those terms, it makes it a little bit easier to think about. Like, it's not crazy. I don't think that we would consider up to about 500,000 between now and say kind of spring, summer of next year. I do not think that the actual dollar amount that we will put out the door in this fiscal year will necessarily exceed the 123,000 that is authorized for it. But I think we do just want to be mindful of kind of dollar amount authorization, and that we are not issuing notices to proceed in excess of whatever the board has authorized kind of to this point. So all to say, based on what we have kind of in hand, I think at minimum, we would at our next board meeting in 2 weeks want to memorialize a resolution that we bump this dollar amount up. I think we can maybe be flexible on what the board feels comfortable with based on what's in hand. And then I think at that point, we probably would want to, based on volume that we're seeing kind of coming in, there's probably kind of subsequent conversations that we should consider having about, do we need to actually start putting some limitations either on individual participants or kind of spreading the geographies a little bit to ensure that kind of, maybe Tip Hill's gotten a little bit of a cap. We need to focus additional dollars elsewhere. So I don't know if there's any immediate reactions to any of that.
I have a question about the one invoice that was already received. That work that was done after we went through all of this, or?
No, this was somebody that they just threaded the needle on timing to the T. They had their applications in. They were one of the first people that got applications in, got a notice to proceed, and had their contractor kind of lined up. So it was lucky for them that
we go by to double check that it wasn't already work in progress. Like,
we can see just based on where the invoice dates are at and kind of where before after photos. They've submitted before and after photos to us. So I think we can evidence based on what we have in hand from the date that we received those photos. I think we're from what they've submitted from backup documentation, we feel comfortable that that's not the case. So
Do we have a standard policy of doing site visits for all of these?
yeah, so we have also been doing additional, I think a lot of the before photos that we've been receiving from people are not necessarily kind of full property photos. A lot of them are very like zoomed in, kind of specific to here's my component. So we've been doing those ourselves. And then I think the additional layer checks that we have in place, we'll also go by ourselves and kind of do a drive-by. But for any work that requires a permit, obviously, they have to submit proof of that permit completion to be eligible for that reimbursement. So that requires there's a certificate of completion issued for the permit by the permits department. But I think that's the other kind of checkpoint that we have to ensure that people are not stretching that.
Okay. Michelle, how many are homeowners? What's percentage as far as?
I think most of them. There's been a few landlords here and there, and I think it's been certainly there's been more landlords that we've seen in Tip Hill than we have. I don't think that we've had any, maybe one or two rental property owners in Salt Springs, but largely they've been concentrated in Tip Hill, which I think makes sense.
So,
Go ahead.
I guess I just gonna say for Rashida's sake, if you wanted to repeat the last part about the possibility of capping, or halting for the Tip Hill area so that other ones can have an opportunity to.
Yeah, so I think, where's the, sheet that's in front of you, this spreadsheet, so it kind of breaks out where we're at today in terms of applications received and what estimated reimbursements might be. There's some people that we're waiting on scopes of work for, so we're just estimating that they're at max reimbursement, to be able to kind of confirm what that looks like, but, I think what we're recommending at this point, just based on kind of how we've been messaging the program to people to date, number one, it makes sense that we bump up the budget at least one more time. I think what we've been seeing from participants is that we got a lot of applications in pretty early from Tip Hill. They're not necessarily as fully complete. So like a lot of them, like Salt Springs is taking a little bit longer, but they're following directions very well. They're coming in very complete. People are having everything that they need in place. And so they're getting faster. So
Thank you.
I'm not yet, right, like, yeah. Yeah. So that's great. We appreciate that. So at this point, kind of based on that, I don't yet think that we are quite at the point where we need to put in a firm line of we're kind of maxing out for a given neighborhood, again, because we haven't communicated to either neighborhood that there was a max limitation or a cap. But I think if we were to bump this up, say to, $400,000, something like that, we get close to that threshold again, and we're still seeing kind of this amount of usage distribution at that point, then we might need to consider putting on some sort of stipulation. So that could be based on neighborhood geography of like, here's the bucket for Tip Hill, here's the bucket for Salt Springs. It could also be based on individual participants. So I think there have certainly in Tip Hill been examples of rental property owners who legitimately own a lot of properties all along a street that qualify. And so they're taking advantage of that. I think that that's fine from a whole block, whole area standpoint. And also that's a good example of at a certain point, maybe we do need to limit some of those people's kind of participation.
Well, as far as, some of the, like, we have a lot of windows and a few doors, are we, to maximize, the dollars, are we asking about them applying to like the windows and doors program if they qualify? So that we're the last dollar option?
So what we're doing for this program is, no, this is very much kind of like quick, like homeowner responsibility on you, whatever you can get in. Certainly we can refer people to those things if they have questions or are looking to line up additional resources. When we are doing the larger homeowner renovation programs, absolutely, that's something where we want to make sure people are maxing out program participation for other things that they're eligible for. But I think this is really just kind of like a temperature check of where are people at without us doing a ton of extra layers of that, and what are people kind of doing of their own volition. So I think this is, we're being effective in accomplishing that. And just even in terms of kind of, I think it's helpful to see even the kind of project amounts, like Salt Springs is not necessarily going too far above their $5,000. Many of them are not even going up close to that. Typically, you're seeing a lot of projects that are far more in excess of that. So I think that's instructive. Just right, yeah. And so it's certainly instructive in terms of as we're thinking about what does cost share look like for some of the bigger programs. What's the threshold that we need to think about? So
one of the things I will say is, and that you are going to see, because as far as financial capital access, some don't have it, right? One thing I will say is, and I always, when I'm wrong, I like to admit I'm wrong, right? I'm a thinker, right? So one thing I'll say about this project is, in the East Side, just particular, there were some older people that really weren't coming out a lot. And this helped them engage with some of their neighbors, which it brought back joy to me because that's what neighbors are supposed to be. Now, on the flip side, I have seen some other little chaos, but the greatness of it, right? So I'm putting it out there. It did give them ability to come and communicate. Like some of them are like in the house and they don't come out, but now they're communicating with their neighbors. So they're building this like synergy, which like made my heart, because they were older, right? So I'm going to say, right, but she just said that part was great, right? Getting the community together. She just said on October, whatever day this is. That part. One of the things that I would like to say also about this is, because it's their little wins, they're really big wins. Because it's changing the narrative of our community and it's making people feel good. Like people being able to do the littlest thing to their house is building that self-esteem that we need back in our community, right? So the little money we using, I would be willing to put more in, right? And not even having a question. My second ask is that another little win like this, and I know we said we're only gonna, just hear me out. I know we said we're only gonna do these neighborhoods, but I would love to see we do another little win in all sectors. So we say our big focus for this is to do the big neighborhoods, to get the, big project done. We're doing Lower, Far West Side, Tip Hill, South Spring for the next set. But next year we will do another little win for the north side, the west side, and the south side. Because I think from what I've seen so far, this is changing the narrative of people in their neighborhood and community. And if a couple $100 can make neighbors come together to do a project, I think the win is bigger, right? And say, later on, we're coming back to you, but we want to give you a chance to be a part of this little win next year. I would support that 100%, because I think they need it.
And I did what Rashida said, so that was going to be the question, when do we jump to the other parts of the city?
I mean, I think we move at the capacity of our budget, right? So I think we have the 7.5 million that we have committed to date is a third of what we need to fully complete the 2 neighborhoods that we have started. So we have, based on kind of the plan that was authorized by the council, the next 2 neighborhoods that we've made kind of named commitments to, Eastwood and Elmwood. So, but again, I think in terms of kind of the expansion, I guess it would be my recommendation that we would, before moving on to kind of the 2 neighborhoods, we would at least get to 15 million of funds committed, so that because what we don't want to do is start spreading ourselves in a way where we're getting too thin and putting something in front of people that we then can't follow up on in short order. So I think like I'm all for it, and I think it's just a function of kind of what is the additional funding commitment. I think if there was, whether it be from kind of additional city resources that would be committed. Frankly, I think that all of the budgeting that has been contemplated by kind of from a planning standpoint, if we could get to a place where we were able to have a city commitment of 2 million annually, that would put us in a position where we could at least get out to the next 2 neighborhoods. And then on a 2-year basis, that gives us enough cash flow to keep doing things. And I think in addition to that commitment, there's still other, I think, opportunities for seed funding that we have that we can be looking to help kind of pursue with that. And that's very much on the agenda for.
It was the consultant or the housing market study that said to really kind of focus on specific neighborhoods.
Yeah.
In the context of the strategy planning and the.
I get that, but that's why I told you I'd apologize, because I saw something that I hadn't seen in a long, long time, like that love. And I think, I know I would be pushing it for the council that if we said, this is our main focus and this is our pilot, but next year we're gonna do Eastwood and North Side. The third year we're gonna do on a little win, because a little win is so big. And this is little money, but it's building the community, which is gonna change other things, right? And that's what makes me more happy than anything, right? Because once we see that crime change, all these things are gonna be a part of it, right? Because now we're back to sense of community. So I'm saying, and I know all the fellow counselors is with me with this, but I'm saying that we need to add the other ones in, not to put more work on you guys. I don't know how that goes there, but I saw the sense of change with the building of that communication and relationship. And I think we can get it going on the other sectors. And then I think if our community feels that they were heard, or we just gave them a little win, then we'll get a bigger win at the end.
I have a slightly different, outlook, just slightly. No, just slightly, versus adding, completely new neighborhoods, because we do still, they've already been in communication with Eastwood and Elmwood. So not to kind of take away from that, but there were neighborhoods, because I got a couple of complaints specifically from the east side area, that there were blocks, I shouldn't say neighborhoods, blocks that the, like the Salt Springs area portion, like jumped over. So it came down Salt Springs and it stopped around like Crowley or something, and it went to like the Westcott area, something like
It
that.
doesn't, there's
Don't go
nothing that's in Westcott.
Not fully Westcott, but
Yeah.
something over there.
Like Allen Street and that, but that's.
I'm not
The
sure, but
boundary-
basically it like jumped over.
So I guess as a point of clarification, the boundary is and has always been Westmoreland up to Erie Boulevard, down to East Genesee Street, all the way to the end of the city line. I do think that there was a couple homeowners who live on Stone Ridge Drive, which is one of the very last teeny tiny, the last residential street in the city. There was at least one constituent there that was very confused and distraught about the exclusion of their neighborhood. We have clarified that they are included, and we have been working to match them up. We're stringing a nice little group of about
So is
5 poles
Westmoreland
there.
included or excluded?
Westmoreland is included.
So what's after Westmoreland?
Next street would be like Bruce Crowley,
And
so
It
Westmoreland
could have been somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, instead of adding whole blocks, maybe with just something like this, you just add a couple, reach out to the next 2 to 3 or 5 blocks to find out, do you want to now be, I don't know.
Yeah. I would also say too, in that kind of situation, if we have somebody that's very close like that, and we do have the ability to kind of call some audibles of one-offs here and there. So certainly if you have folks like that are raising complaints, please forward them to us directly so we can take a look at it. But yeah, I would say I do appreciate your comments, and I think just from our team, it's something we've certainly seen and as well ourselves and enjoyed. We've gotten a lot of really great feedback from people. I frankly have met neighbors on my street that I didn't know. It's quite interesting the number of people that we have a forum where it's like, I can't find a team, help me find a team, and the number of people that are on the same street that are saying that they can't find a team.
Yeah.
It's like,
I feel like we're
Let
gonna
me-
have a kickball team. I'm like, oh,
Yeah. Right, so I mean, we've been having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
It's feels like a much more on than some of the other crazy stuff that we have
I
going on.
was walking up to my dog and it was late, let's say 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, and a bunch of people came out of Richie and Rita's and Richie's house. Part of this team, right there.
Nice.
They were all meeting like at night.
That's
It was terrific.
Just my 2 cents, I think this conversation that we're having, it's not a problem, but I'll still call it a good problem to have. I think what we're seeing, we're seeing what we wanted to see, right? We're seeing that community start to build, and we were seeing a demand build, and I do think that we need to figure out a way to capture that. So I think it's finding the right balance between our plan suggested that this would do what it's doing, and so it's working. We all know that historically, when these programs have come up, that when resources do get spread too thin, you don't have the impact they have. So I think we need to continue to discipline ourselves to, as you said, focus the primary resources where we said we were going to focus it and follow the plan that we said we were going to follow. But that doesn't mean whether it's a different program, a different pot of money, a partnership with home headquarters, one of our other partners, where we can't use what we're learning through this and apply it in other places, as long as we're clear about where our priorities are and what our strategy is versus what might be some other separate but related strategies that plant those seeds in other neighborhoods. So I think these are good conversations to be having, and I think the more we can show that it's working, hopefully the more we can secure additional resources, and we can do more in more places. So I think it's all good. Michelle, do we have a sense of where the state's at with their housing money and
In terms of their commitment for the 5 million?
No, not
Okay.
to us, but just the broader regional work that they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, Center State has their initiative.
So I think in terms of kind of funds that we would be the most competitive for, it would likely be coming out of some of the Micron specific dollars. The first round of funding, I think what ESD had indicated to us was that they were really going to be focusing on the workforce development for their grant funds. And that it was more likely that they would focus on additional housing resources for the second round of funds.
Okay.
So I think it's worth a follow-up with them just to confirm kind of what does the timing for that second round look like. Certainly as things get closer with that, I think they have additional kind of increased need, obviously, for housing related needs. So,
Dan Klinsky is on.
oh, all right.
Always nice to get paid.
Good to know. I don't know if the.
Man, we need the money.
Yeah.
Where the money at? Get straight to the point.
Sorry, I did not really see stuff in here virtually. Yeah. I don't know if you can speak to us.
And,
Bubble picture.
what about the, there was some conversations around, buying communal spaces. What is that? Are we at that place yet?
Communal spaces for-
I think it was like little parklets or something that, we did
Yeah.
say something about for.
Yeah, so a couple things, and I think probably separate from this discussion today, I do think it's worth us having a conversation about kind of a one-time contribution to the respective neighborhood associations. I think, Salt Springs Neighborhood Association is off and running, and I think that there's certainly lots of things, both, I think they're have kind of the financial structures that they need in the, organizational, whatever, system, kind of that a small kind of contribution for special neighborhood projects would make sense. Separate from that, there are resources that were approved in, or that were included as part of the 26 capital improvement plan under neighborhood and business developments capital improvement plan specific for the housing strategy. I think as we have kind of worked through the process of just understanding kind of some of the legal limitations that we have when it comes to particularly CIP dollars for housing specifically, I think we've come to the conclusion that the best way we can focus those resources is on infrastructure and community improvements. So we have been meeting regularly with all of the different operational departments. We had a great meeting last week with DPW, Parks, all of the relevant parties about what planning for those funds looks like. So I think we should have something to kind of, we'll be bringing that to you here in the next few weeks.
Shall we back in this year? Are we not accepting anymore?
Well, so I think that was kind of the discussion that we were having here is it's right now what is authorized in the budget is up to $123,000. And so no, we definitely need to bump it up at least once more. And so I think the question for the board is what is the dollar amount that we should, that people feel comfortable bumping it up to, and you know, where would we like to push it before we want to maybe set some additional parameters in it? I guess my recommendation would be that based on utilization that we've seen and the fact that I think because these are slightly higher dollar amounts and the way that people have been, I don't think that we're being reckless if we were to authorize up to like at least 300,000, 400,000. I think if we get anywhere close to 500,000, I think we need to kind of like
Working on just shift it.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's just moving money.
And someone's telling the homeowners that there's a bigger program out there at some point, so
Right.
they're not.
One other question, have we ever been at some parts of, not near West Side, but some parts of Salt Springs and maybe our West Side is in that, zoning for violence? Have we ever talked to the police about their seed money to maybe help add to this for the curb appeal and, because I know they can only use money for those like supportive of certain things. And I know part of these neighborhoods, certain streets and stuff fits in it. So we might
Well, that's,
Yeah, Comode's been very involved in that project and, the defined areas, and I think that's certainly something that for areas where there's overlap and it's appropriate, we absolutely wanna align those dollars, so.
Yeah, that's the police. They don't tell us about them, so we gotta go tell them.
No, but the DOJ dollars, I think what, kind of like some of the recent items that have come before in terms of.
They're like, yeah, it's not that, but it's their like money they had that they like sort of take
like
away.
their seizure fund.
Seizure funds.
Okay.
So that's the money that, but it aligned into what they're trying to, they will put it back into, so we reach out to them,
We'll ask.
yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so I think kind of what we're looking for out of this discussion today is where do we feel comfortable in terms of another budget adjustment? Like I said, we don't want to approve these applications that we have at hand today. We're trying to not let these linger too much, so 350.
We have 123 approved now.
Mhm.
And I got 3 groups about to send in, so.
Right, yeah,
I mean,
yeah, they're
That's taking it from 123 up to 350, so.
Yeah, and again, kind of people that have actually, individuals that have been approved, we're at that $53,000 threshold, but it's just kind of taking a look at what's been individuals approved versus applications we have in hand. So, yeah, 350 I think makes sense, and certainly, again, we got these meetings scheduled every 2 weeks, so.
So remind me, so this is a committee meeting, so do we have to vote or we just bring that to the
We
board?
can just bring it to the board and then we can vote on that, at our next meeting.
And let me just be clear, so within that 350 is each resident gets 50 something, sorry.
Each resident, individual resident can get up to $2,500.
Oh, 25.
No.
2,500.
Oh, yeah, right, it was 5,000.
So the cap, what is the cap per neighborhood? I should be.
There is no cap per neighborhood at this point. I think if, at the next point that we come, if we start to bump up on a $350,000 threshold, we need to be, like, look at that a little bit closer. So whether we start putting some limitations based on individual property owners, so like in some of the instances where we have rental property owners that have participated several times, that's one area. I think we would maybe look at that the next time, but what I do think is happening is that, we're seeing the Salt Springs ones are increasingly coming in. People just.
Pat's been knocking, knowing him and Ben, between both of them, they took a side, back to the side Ben, and they met up, and that's how they got that.
Yeah, I mean, the Salt, like I said, Salt Springs is following directions very well.
Yes.
So they've always known. Yep.
Rashida had that meeting.
Spelled it out. They blow my phone up. I'm like,
Three quotes, like they're waiting until they
three
have all three
quotes, a
quotes.
picture,
Yeah.
this, I'm like, do you got to do all
I
that?
suggested I use the word cap, say allocation.
Okay. Understood.
Okay.
All right,
Let's keep it moving.
okay. As far as just other kind of quick updates, so Resident Advisory Committee, Council obviously authorized the adjustment to the legal language, so I will send out a formal communication to the full council about this end of this week, but we would be looking for, there's a total of 5 appointments for resident advisory members that would be coming from the council. Those are broken up. The council president has one of them, and then the other 4 are the 4 district counselors or at-large counselors. Thank you. So ideally, it would be great if we could have those all confirmed by the November 10th council meeting, just so that we have enough time. I think we want to be able to try to convene that group of residents in so that we could kind of give them some feedback based on some of these program terms to date. Just understanding scheduling gets kind of tricky around the holidays. If we could just for timeline, kind of keeping it moving, that would be preferable, but.
So we want to do it before the end of the year.
Yep. As far as where we're at with the legal services RFP, the deadline for that was last Friday. We did not get any responses, which was surprising because we had a couple people that had indicated they were intending to submit. So we are going to extend that deadline. We will make sure that it gets out to the Bar Association and through kind of a couple different channels there so that it's well promoted, but extending that out another week or another few weeks. may not be able to have it fully buttoned up for the board meeting at the end of the month, but would like to have that all resolved by November. Obviously, we do have some legal services kind of through city that we can leverage, as well as some additional dollars of what's been authorized for under the current budget year with Boosgate and Gene Everett. So,
Assuming we do get some proposals at some point, what's the interview and selection process going to be like?
I think it's open to as robust as we would like to make it. I think based on the procurement policy, it can be a recommendation that you all would be. The main thing is that we need to do a process. What the process is not prescribed. So I think we were intending that we would do some staff interviews to the extent that any the board would like to participate in that, welcome that as well. Also realize that people have a lot of meetings, so.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, just let us know. If we get to that point, let us know when and where, and we'll let you know if we're interested.
All right. Yeah. Last bigger chunk of discussion is starting to work through some of the homeowner renovation program terms. So in your packets, you all have a draft copy of kind of extremely preliminary set of terms for homeowner renovation. These were sourced very directly from the current policy that Invest DSM has in place for their program. I think the goal of kind of talking through some of this today is to just really kind of take a list of where areas where we need to do some additional review and exploration, any kind of specific highlights or priorities that people want to make sure that we fully firm up, but in no way are we looking to make decisions on this today. Couple specific things just to kind of call out. So the focus of this particular program, this is exclusively owner occupied properties. We will in subsequent meetings review kind of some separate terms for rental property owners, but for the sake of focusing on one thing at a time, taking a pass here with just owner occupants. I think we're thinking about this specifically as a renovation rehabilitation program. So no purchase acquisition, no specific kind of development. I think we certainly do want to have the ability to pursue those projects, but at this point, I think we would want to consider them as kind of on a one-off basis. If there's an opportunity that makes sense that comes available, we would look to partner with Land Bank Home Headquarters, kind of trusted development partner to do that. And then once we get this program and the rental program up and running, can pursue maybe what's formalizing something else. Just focusing on kind of existing homeowners that are in their properties looking to do rehab projects. As far as kind of the, I guess the idea here is really there's no ceiling of what people can pursue with their projects. There is a floor though that I think we would want to try to see. And I think the best kind of characterization of that is that we don't necessarily want to fund projects that could otherwise be funded through an urgent care with this. So like example being kind of if you want to do a standalone roof or a standalone water heater, we would want to refer you to the urgent care allocation that we just made with Home Headquarters, either direct you there or direct you to the block challenge program to do kind of those one-offs. We would allow something like, would allow it as part of a combination project. So like I'm doing a roof and my siding and something else, but we don't necessarily just, the idea that these can really kind of help drive kind of more holistic property improvements. So I think that's kind of the basis there. And in a similar vein, want to ensure that we are not allowing solely interior projects if there's exterior issues that clearly need addressed. So I think the way that we would kind of ascertain that is at the point that we're doing intake of a program application, if there's any existing code violations on the exterior, we would ask that people would include that as part of their scope of work. So we wouldn't deny their interior component that they want to do, but we would just require that they're addressing the issues on the outside. So again, we wouldn't necessarily go cite those violations, but it would be more of a, this is your special checklist that you need to take on in addition.
Well, so going back to the Black Challenge, portion, is there a major versus minor, project component? Cause I guess when I look at chimney, what does that mean? I mean, I've seen people where their chimney is comes down the side of their house and it's separating from the house. Or if like the chimney is at the top of the house and it just needs to be fixed up a little bit, or even taken away. So like the one that's set on the side and it's separating, that's a major,
That's a big expense, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the one for Block Challenge, I think that we've had come in so far has been more on the minor side of things. I am aware of at least one person who says that they have a major chimney project that they're waiting for the bigger program to come up.
Okay.
This person also has what I would consider from the outside to be like grade A, immaculate exterior or otherwise, so.
that's all I want. I just want to make sure that if there's minor stuff that we're addressing it
Yeah.
to go to the bigger project.
Right, and so I think that
I
that's
mean,
kind of,
major.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's kind of the point of having, for people that are trying to do those one-off components, we would refer them to either go to a Block Challenge program or go to, if they're income qualified, go through the urgent care, kind of set aside, to be able to still get that done.
So one suggestion, and only because I gotta go to another meeting, I'm very important today, but really quick, I just want to put it out here. Governors, there's two things that I would just like to put out there. Thank you, everybody. This is really like, yeah, I don't know, it just did, seeing the people talk. But I think as we move on, because this is gonna get like real deep, I think we need to think about two things. I think somebody from codes need to sit on this committee, right? Because there's gonna be some things that are moving forward that is gonna be decision-making things that we're gonna need to be able to be like, so they're, oh, did we talk to code? Like, I think they should be involved in this. And the second is, it would be nice to have someone legal, like a law, because when I have ran into, or somebody on the team that's willing to, from VLP or somebody, I've got like 5 or 6 people who are stuck in between the titles not in their name, the deeds, right? So it's like, oh shoot, how do I help them? So those are the things as we move forward, we're gonna run into.
Yep.
And if we get somebody that's already willing to be on our team, I think it's gonna make what the city's trying to do even better, because they'll be able to direct them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's just my
Yeah,
thought.
yeah, absolutely. And codes has been very much, codes and permits both have been very actively involved in all of this. We've been meeting with them kind of separately, and I think they, I think in tandem will be reviewing this. Happy to have them physically join the meeting and discussion if that's helpful.
Cause it could be something like Jay
Yeah.
came today, it could be something that somebody needs to do, but it's not even permittable, right? Like, and then instead of us, we already have, I just a thought.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Good idea.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think that's kind of overview of projects of what we would be looking to focus on. Again, very few things that would be explicitly prohibited beyond kind of the couple things that I mentioned. Don't want to do standalone items, want to make sure we're not allowing new interior without addressing exterior. Any other questions with that at this point?
But to Councilor Caldwell's point, the legal services, obviously, but would they be able to help?
I think that
Those
that's a
questions?
question in terms of, as a adopted program term, do we want to require applicants to show that they have some sort of state plan in place for kind of like, if we're going to put money in a given project, do you have a clean kind of title that we can, or do we need to require you to clean up your title somehow?
We're gonna have to if we're securing it with a mortgage.
Correct.
Yes, so that's why I said the next, like, right, this first stage is little hit, is okay, it's the next stage, so we need to be preparing people.
Yep, absolutely.
But actually having somebody ready to say, no, we can help you, right? And what does that look like? If we're gonna help them with all this, we need to be able to support them with that last piece. That shouldn't be,
Yeah.
and I got like several of them right now that is in that situation that I know can't move on to the next stage because they gotta get that stuff. You know?
Are we providing them like a one sheet to say like, say it's this list, but, where it identifies permit needed, no permit needed.
We're doing it as kind of a two-part item. So the first is just a really preliminary intake, like 6 questions, like give us your name, your address, what type of project are you thinking about doing? A couple other like small things. We would have a meeting with them to go do a site visit, talk through kind of like here, if you were to be approved to kind of formally apply, here's all the specific things you're going to need. And we will have that all explicitly called out for people. There's several things that are included on, I think it's the last page of this packet of just a starter of that. So property information, what's their rehab plan, budget, all that stuff, kind of looks like.
I mean, cause, and I hate to just be pointing out all kind of negative stuff, but, like paint. You have people that's doing paint, I don't know what that entails, but do we know?
Doesn't require a permit.
Well, not only does it require a permit, do we know if there's a lead component?
There, we
Are
do have
any
required,
spray taken?
yeah, we do have required lead exposures and all of that will be kind of baked into the agreement.
Okay, thanks. So I know we're running short on time. What would be most helpful for you to help guide you in the right direction here? Take a look through this, follow up with questions, concerns.
Yeah, I can take a look through this. I think the next meeting that we have scheduled for the board meeting, understanding just timeline we're working on and that everyone wants to ensure that we're considering things thoughtfully. I think I would propose that we use our next meeting. We can, assuming that all of our recording infrastructure is operating smoothly, I think we can have the meeting here, memorialize the budget amendment, and then continue kind of work plan. But if you can take a look at this in between now and then, I did not get it out in advance enough for people to do that today, so I apologize for that. But take a look, and then if you have any thoughts of things you'd like us to consider between now and then, let me know.
All right.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. I will, do I have to do motion to adjourn for committee? I don't. Okay. Meeting's adjourned. Thanks.
Is there anything about loan to value in here? Do we care about that?
That's a question for consideration. I think there was.
I mean, I got the bill on.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Good.